Hello everyone, welcome to the first video of 2024, and we're going to start things off with a bang. This is going to be another great year for horror fiction. I've got so many great books lined up for you. This first quarter is going to be fantastic, trust me on that. But these three books are all indie horror books. They're all quirky, they're all kind of fun, they're all kind of different than anything you've read before, and I always look forward to things that are a little bit different. And these ones certainly fit the bill, and I think you're going to love all three of them as much as I did. And as a reminder, I have horror books for sale, and if you want to read any of the books you see on your screen, they are only $1 each at the link in the description. I will also leave that link in the pinned comment as well. And don't forget to pick up your Read More Horror t-shirt. There are many colors and sizes available, and there's a link down below for that also. All right, let's get started. So the first book I want to talk about today is called Apartment 239. This is a fantastic novel. It's set in an apartment, Apartment 239, and it's about a man who lives there who recently lost his family. His wife and his child died, apparently of a gas leak is what the official story is. But we're going to find out that in this town of Marble Springs, not everything is as it seems. Like with any good small town horror, this one has some very deep, very dark secrets. But inside this apartment of 239, he finds out that he has unexpected roommates. The ghosts, the spirits of three former tenants live with him in this apartment. And he can see them, and he can talk to them. They can talk to him. And they have a very strange kind of bond. They don't really like him that much, and they let him know that all the time. And some of the more quirky, fun, humorous aspects of this book, their relationship and the way they go back and forth with each other is quite funny at times. But they are all victims of a serial killer. There is a serial killer loose in this town. He's been the cause of many, many people coming up and disappearing. But for some reason, the police aren't doing anything about it. The police blow it off. There's a running gag through this book that these people are, nothing bad happened to them. They just moved to Dallas. That seems to be the key word for these people disappeared or these people were found dead. Or something. And instead of investigating, the police chief just says, well, they probably just moved to Dallas because this book is set in Texas. And he works, our main protagonist, he works at the Parks and Recreation Department of this town. And this town has been through a lot. It really went to ruin under their old mayor. The mayor was attacked and is suffering brain damage now. So of course he's no longer the mayor. But when he was, he kind of let the town go. He had some big ideas that didn't quite make it, and essential services have been cut to the quick. And of course, our protagonist and his work buddies aren't making hardly any money. They're barely making a living. But two of these workplace friends is what I'm trying to say. Carl and Clay, they're going to provide some of the best humor you'll read in a horror book. These two and their back and forth is just fantastic. I absolutely love those two characters. It gives some comic relief to the horrors that are about to unfold. Because we are going to find out who this serial killer is. We're going to find out exactly what his motivation is, and we're going to find out how he's connected to certain higher ups in the town and what their big plan is eventually going forward. But this book has a lot of great dialogue. It has a lot of action, and it really gives you a different perspective on what it's like to be dead. Like what happens on the other side. How come these people are still here? How come they haven't gone into the light? They've had an opportunity, but why didn't they go? And all these issues of life after death and what happens once you pass away, all that's going to be explored as well. But that's not to say this book doesn't have a lot of scares, because it absolutely does. I mean, this serial killer is absolutely psychotic. He has reasons for doing what he's doing, and he's firmly convinced of those reasons, even though it's going to sound crazy. He also has a unique way of getting rid of the dead bodies. And you're going to have to read about that for yourself. I absolutely love this book. It was different, it was fun, highly entertaining, and that's really what you want when you're reading a horror book, I think. And I can only highly recommend it to you, and there's a link down below where you can pick up your copy of Apartment 239 in the description. And next we have Chasing the Dragon by Mark Towsey. This one's not coming out until March, but I encourage you to go and pre-order. You're going to want to. Just trust me on that. He's a very prolific writer, actually. He wrote tons of short stories and novellas, but this is his first full-length novel. And man, he went all out for this one, and it shows. This is a genre-defying kind of book. It's part thriller, it's part comedy, it's part horror, it's part even romance at a certain point. It's got all of these different elements rolling around in there, and they work wonderfully together. And this is about a guy who lives in a town that's overrun kind of by crime, and he decides he's going to be a superhero and clean up the city. So he goes out and he has somebody make him a costume, and it's not a very good costume at first. It's kind of too tight in certain areas. But he decides he's going to hit the streets in this costume and remind people to obey the law. And that's going to go about exactly how you think it would go. Nobody respects him. He's going to get beat up. He's going to get kicked in the nether regions more than once. At one point he's going to get hit by a car. He's going to be verbally and physically abused when he tries to tell people to pick up after their dog after the dog poops on the ground, or somebody drops something on the ground. He's right there. He's going to make sure that his town is clean, and he's going to do his part to clean it up. And he eventually wants to find the main drug dealer in town and bring them down. Now he calls himself Reformo. This is again one of those running gags through the book where he's trying to think of a different name, and none of them really sound good, so he just sticks with Reformo. And now, is he the superhero this town needs? Absolutely not. But is he the superhero you didn't know you want until you read this book? Absolutely yes. He's just a great sympathetic character because as he's going around and he's taking all this abuse while he's trying to stop these crimes from happening, he's going to meet a lady of the night. He's going to be smitten with her, and he's going to vow to do better so that she can see him as a superhero he thinks he is. And in his mind, he actually is. He's much better than what they're giving him credit for. But this book also deals with the subject of mental health issues, because obviously he's got a few mental health issues thanks to his mother. When he was growing up, his mother was one of these women who would yell and complain and go on and on about every little thing that people did wrong. Like if he left crumbs on his table after he ate his sandwich, his mother would go on a rant about it and yell at him and his father, saying, this is how the chaos starts right here. It starts with not cleaning up your crumbs, and then it escalates, and now look, now we live in a city that's overrun with crime. Everything to her leads to chaos. Every little infraction is like a personal offense to her, and that was pounded into him when he was a child growing up. And he hears the voice of his mother while he's going around trying to make her proud that he's actually doing something and cleaning up the city, and her voice is always nagging on him. He's receiving all this abuse from other people. But then things are going to take a little dark turn when he does start getting into the harder crime scenes in this city, where he is going after this main drug dealer, and he's trying to get information from people because he wants to impress this woman that he's smitten with, you know. And things are going to get rough, things are going to get bloody, things are going to get pretty gory sometimes. But you'll just have to wait to see how all that's going to turn out. This is a very, very good book. It's hugely engaging. This reformal. He just makes for a very sympathetic character. You want him to succeed. Even at first when you're thinking, okay, yeah, I've accidentally dropped a napkin, you know, while I'm eating, walking down the street, and he's pouncing, trying to pounce on people. But you feel for him. You want him to succeed. You want him to get the girl in the end and fulfill what he feels is his destiny as this wannabe superhero. If you've ever seen James Gunn's movie called Super, starring Rainn Wilson, it kind of has that vibe. If you don't know that movie, go ahead and look it up. It's one of my favorite movies. But it's kind of got that vibe to it. A guy, just a regular guy dressing up like a superhero, vowing to clean up the streets, and nothing's going to go right for him. Yeah, I highly recommend this one. There is a pre-order link in the description, and I can't recommend it enough. Pick up your copy of Chasing the Dragon and pre-order that today. And last but certainly not least, we have Hail Santa. Just because Christmas is over, that does not mean we can't enjoy a little holiday horror. And if there's one you want to read, any time of year is good. This is going to be the one. This takes place in another town that's been basically bought by a Chinese corporation, and what they want to do is turn the whole town into this fancy luxury ski resort. So they just bought the whole town. And Christmas is a huge theme in this town. Now think about this. If Children of the Corn was a full-on slasher and the person leading the children was an evil shape-shifting Santa Claus, you're going to get the vibe of this book, because he uses St. Nicholas is very real in the town of St. Nicholas, which is the name of this town before this corporation bought them out and changed the name. So it's kind of his hometown. But this is not the jolly old elf you're used to seeing around the holidays. This one is pure evil. He has the power to make people see him the way he wants to, while other things are going on behind the scenes. And he wants people to worship him. He wants people to believe in him. And those that do follow his every command, especially the children. They are enamored by St. Nicholas. And he gathers his small army of children, and they go out and they are murdering machines, little tiny murdering machines. This town is snowed in, a huge snowstorm. All communication is cut off. They have no internet. They have no cable. They have no phone service. And these children are just going around murdering basically everybody in the town they can in the most bloody, horrific, gruesome ways you can think of. And in the meantime, they're also changing into these monstrosities because they're drinking from Santa's special eggnog, which winds up to be something completely different, something really gross that you're going to have to read about, because it's not actually the real Santa Claus here. We're dealing with this evil, horrible, terrifying monstrosity, and only people who were not from that town originally can see through that facade and see what's going on. So as these children are feeding from what they think is their Santa Claus, they are also changing into these horrible demon-like monstrosities while they're going around and slicing and dicing and chopping. And there's tons of blood in this book, tons of gore, tons of body parts laying everywhere. But it also tells a really, really thrilling, exciting, fast-paced story about a small handful of survivors who are trying to escape the carnage and stop this killing spree by these children and by Santa himself, because Santa is hungry and Santa needs to feed, and he needs to feed off the flesh of the people in that town. And it's just going to go to places you wouldn't expect. This is one of the bloodiest, goriest Christmas horror novels I've ever read, and it was an absolute delight to read it. It was just gruesomely fantastic, and I absolutely loved it. I can't recommend it enough. And like I said, it's good for any time of year because it's just a good old-fashioned slasher story with the Christmas and Santa Claus clothing on. And I highly, highly recommend it. Really had a lot of fun with it, and I think you will love it as well. And there is a link down below where you can purchase your copy of Hail Santa, and I recommend it. And as always, I want to say thank you for taking some of your time and spending it here with me. And until we meet again, keep reading spooky, my friends.